bringing you news, politics, and whatever else tickles my fancy. Welcome to the Ho Ho Show, and I'm your host, Ho Ho. Broadcasting from the attic. You can check out my website, thehohoshow.com. You can follow me on Twitter. You can email me, hoho@thehohoshow.com. Check out my YouTube channel and find me on Facebook. So welcome to the Ho Ho Show, and as always, I am your host, Ho Ho. That's right. Alright guys, I'm wanting to cover just a couple topics here, and basically both of these topics, they revolve around previous episodes that I had done. The first one, Gun Control, that I published October 6th, and that one, alright, so a couple days ago, and then last night, or I guess today, I don't know, I haven't been to bed yet, so it doesn't matter, but I watched a video on Facebook, and I also watched it, on YouTube, yesterday, last night, today, whatever. And it was Bill Whittle. That's B-I-L-L, last name Whittle, W-H-I-T-T-L-E, or as Stewie would say, Whittle. But I watched that, and, a lot of the points that he made, I had made him on that episode of Gun Control, and how he articulated the argument was just, it was amazing. The analogies that he used, how he really laid it out, what they were doing, and what he challenged them to do. I mean, it was great. I mean, it really was. I couldn't have put it better myself, and it made it that much better for him to be able to say that right up in front of Congress. The people who need to hear it, right to their face, televised for all to see. Now, I would definitely invite you guys to, watch the video of this, because the audio that I'm about ready to play, it doesn't do it justice. It really doesn't. Just for the simple fact is, just some of the things that you don't see, of course, from, just the audio. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now. So, and now, granted, this video, or this audio, is a little long. It's 7 minutes and 7 seconds, but it is worth every second. It truly is worth every second. So again, this is Bill Whittle talking in front of Congress. Be back in 7 minutes.
And now we must turn to the issue of gun violence in America today. Because the latest mass shootings in Aurora, Colorado, and Newtown, Connecticut leave us all, liberal and conservative, Republican and Democrat, appalled and disgusted at the carnage. Now, some people, and that includes many of you in this room tonight, want to place the blame for this horror on things like 30-round magazines or semi-automatic rifles. We want to blame something, anything that we can control. But what we really want to ban is violence and murder and insanity. Now, we don't talk about that, though, because deep in our hearts, each of us knows that violence and murder and insanity are built into the human condition and likely always will be. There are two kinds of animals in this world, predators and prey. No one watches a leopard chase down a gazelle and denies that the gazelle has a right to use its hooves and horns to protect itself from the predator. But there are people in this room tonight and all across the country who would deny that same right to self-defense to other human beings. Such people seem to think that the way to stop the leopard is to cut the horns off of the gazelle, that by somehow making it easier for the predator will simply go away. My friends, this is insane. When you make it easier for the predator, you get more predators. So let's start with the so-called assault weapons, more properly known as semi-automatic rifles. In 2011, the total firearm murders came to 8,583, according to the FBI. Now, during that time, the total murders committed by rifles, all rifles, not just semi-automatic rifles, were 323. That's 3% of all murders. Hammers and clubs kill half again as many people as rifles. Hands and feet murder twice as many. And knives kill 5 times more Americans than all rifles combined. Preventable medical errors kill about 98,000 people per year. Medical malpractice kills more than 12 times as many people as are murdered in the U.S. each year. That's more than 300 times the number killed by all rifles, not just the so-called assault rifles. And yet, no one talks about limits on hammers or knives or doctors or hospitals. No one does that because the good we perceive from hammers and knives and doctors far outweigh their perceived harm. And yet, studies show that firearms prevent anywhere from 800,000 to over 2 million violent crimes every year. The lowest estimate means that 100 times more violent crimes were prevented with firearms than the total murders committed with firearms. That's 100 times as many. Now, in October of 2007, Amanda Collins was walking to her car after a night class at the University of Nevada at Reno. Amanda had a concealed carry permit for her 9mm Glock that she carried for self-defense. Unfortunately for Amanda, UNR is, like most college campuses, a gun-free zone. So, like the law-abiding citizen that she is, she did not have her gun with her in this gun-free zone when she was attacked by James Bila. Bila raped her on the UNR campus less than 300 yards from the campus police office. He then walked away, and a few months later, this human predator went on to murder 19-year-old Breonna Dennison. Amanda Collins went on to say, quote, "I know, having been the first victim, that Breonna Dennison would still be alive had I been able to defend myself that night," unquote. Therefore, I am directing the virtual Attorney General to aggressively challenge any gun control laws that violate Amanda Collins' right not to be raped and Breonna Dennison's right not to be murdered. You're not forced to abandon your First Amendment right when you enter Chicago or New York, or your Fifth Amendment rights when you walk onto a college campus. As virtual president, I will veto on the spot, without hesitation, but with a great deal of pleasure, any and all attempts to destroy any of the Bill of Rights, of the Constitution of the United States of America. Because, when it's all said and done, the Second Amendment to the Constitution is not there to protect us against criminals, and the people calling for gun control know this. That's why they want gun control instead of crime control. That's why they want laws that, at the stroke of a pen, turn law-abiding citizens into criminals. The Second Amendment is there to protect the American people from tyranny. The Second Amendment is there to protect the American people from politicians. The Second Amendment is there to protect the American people from us. Now, some politicians claim America deserves a vote on this issue. Okay, let's have a vote. Those of you advocating infringement on the right of the people to keep and bear arms need to go to the American people with the 28th Amendment, which would simply read, "The Second Amendment to the Constitution is hereby repealed." That would, for the first time, give you the legal authority to do what you have been doing and what you are trying to do now in direct violation of your oath of office to defend the entire Constitution of the United States, not just the parts you happen to approve of. So go ahead, go to the American people and tell them that ultimate power is no longer to be vested in the people who can't be trusted with that power according to you. Tell them only the government can have that power now. You go out there and try to convince the people of the 38 states that you're going to need to get that amendment passed to agree with your opinion of them versus their opinion of you. I dare you. 12 million unarmed men, women, and children were unable to resist being murdered by their own National Socialist government in Germany. Perhaps 50 million unarmed men, women, and children were murdered by their own Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. 50 million Chinese murdered by their own government under Mao, who also disarmed his people, and in Cuba, and in Vietnam, and in the killing fields of Cambodia. Now you say that can't happen here? You say we're protected? By what? By the Constitution that you're in the process of destroying? You are in violation of your oaths of office by so much as introducing this legislation, let alone passing it. My fellow Americans, the previous inhabitants of this chamber watched as 100 million people were murdered after being disarmed by their own governments. Every single one of those men, women, and children were as real and precious and irreplaceable as the children at Newtown. And I tell you here and now that I will be damned if I will let that happen to the American people.
There it is. I couldn't have said it better myself. And there's so much of that I mean, just absolutely amazing. And I want to let you guys know right now that prior to watching this video, I had absolutely no idea, nor have I ever heard of Bill Whittle. Didn't know him, had never heard of him at all. I don't know him from Adam. I don't know anything about his politics. I don't know anything about, who he is personally. And I don't want to necessarily say that based off of this video, that it tells me everything I need to know about the man's politics and that I support him 100%. But listening to that video, or watching that video and listening to that man, it tells me everything I need to know about him and I support him 100%. I like what he has to say. I like how he said it. It's amazing that he had the opportunity to say it to the people who needed to hear it most. The congressmen who are violating their oaths of office by infringing on your right to keep and bear arms. And I absolutely love the analogy that he made with predator and prey and talking about the gazelle. I absolutely love that analogy. I never even considered that type of analogy. And that's one of them things that Wyatt says, with, the creator, the right to protect yourself is nature's law. As he is illustrating in that analogy, that's nature's law. That's one of the reasons why it's in there. It's in the Constitution. That's one of the reasons why, And, an aspect of it that, I mean, I've made this argument, not near as eloquently as he made it, but I've made the argument, that I take that back. My argument was a little bit different. But, his argument was awesome where he's talking about that you do not lose your First Amendment rights whenever crossing state lines, or your First Amendment rights whenever you enter certain establishments or, educational facilities. You don't lose your rights then. So why is it that your rights are infringed upon, with your concealed carry permit or open carry whenever crossing state lines, especially considering all this stuff comes from the Constitution, which is federal, not state, And one aspect or one area that I went into that, he didn't go so far as to go, and that's talking about military grade weapons being owned by the civilians. Okay? And of which case I agree that, I believe, based off of precedents, based off of the Federalist Papers, based off of the overall views that our founding fathers had, founding fathers had, and also based off of previous case law that has already been established that, as the United States Marine Corps is a life-saving organization primarily through through superior firepower, that any person in the military will tell you that if you're going up against an enemy, you have, it is best to have, weaponry that can surpass that of your enemies. Whether it be better training or, just flat out better weapons, either way you look at it. But that is my argument to where, if, and it is, that the Second Amendment was put in place in order to protect the American people against tyranny. Because when tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. And the case law precedents that I am talking about is with the ban on sawed-off shotguns, and the language in that law whenever they made it illegal was that it was not a weapon, or I guess a way of modifying a weapon that was currently being used by the military. Therefore, if you can't use something that isn't used by the military, then that also means that you can use something that is used by the military. Case law already put into practice, already there. There you go. You can look it up. It's great. But that is my reasoning behind, the whole military-grade weaponry. Now, I mean, granted, okay, I mean, here's one of them things, though. The liberals want to throw out that, well, you want all Americans to have access to an RPG and a rocket launcher, a bazooka, and a tank? Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. What type of argument is that? I mean, do you actually realize, do you know how much it cost to, not only get the FBI clearance to get, an M16 or an M4, but do you know how much those weapons cost? And those are basically classified as entry-grade weapons. This isn't even talking about an LSAT at all. It's expensive as hell. I mean, you can pick up an AR-15, a semi-automatic pew, pew, pew for like what? $500, $600? It's like $10,000 for an entry-level assault rifle that shoots pew, 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 or pew, 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 pew. That's what it cost. The pricing is going to keep it out of the hands of the majority of the American people. Period. The pricing is going to do that. Why have a law whenever the pricing is actually going to do what it is you want the limitation to be there? Okay? Not just any John, Dick, and Harry is going to be able to own said assault rifle, military-grade weapon, because the price is going to keep it out of their hands altogether. Everybody clap your hands. Sorry. Just entered my head. But yeah, there you go. What's the argument there? And again, okay, another aspect of this, all right? And this is an argument that I hear being told by the left all the freaking time, okay? That the founding fathers, that the Second Amendment only applies to, muskets. The founding fathers never would have dreamed of such a world where assault rifles were even possible. And of which case, I like to counter that with, okay, I'm willing to concede your point as long as you're willing to concede mine. And my point is that our founding fathers never would have, never could have conceived a world of which there was such a thing as satellite radio, network television, broadcast TV, the internet, cell phones, a computer in the palm of your hand. So if my Second Amendment rights only pertain to and protect my ability to own a musket, a far outdated weapon, then your First Amendment rights only apply to the town square, to quill and parchment, because our founding fathers never would have dreamed of such a world where that was available. And also, the federal government can no longer print money because the Constitution does not allow it. The Constitution clearly says coin money. Oh, yeah, that's right. But the it's an implied power that the federal government have the right to print money, because it implies through coining money that you can also print it, because that's just an advancement of the time. Oh, okay. So they already have this as precedence that it's okay to do that. Oh, so is that why it also is precedence in the same thing for, the First Amendment rights? Oh, well, that also means then it's precedent for the Second Amendment rights and every other rights too. All the other amendments. It should be. So that's my argument. That if my right to keep and bear arms only applies to muskets, then your freedom of speech only applies to, your freedom of speech only applies to the town square. Your freedom of press only applies to messenger delivered parchment written on with a quill pen and ink piece of paper. Network broadcast television, the internet, and satellite radio do not apply. I mean, if your logic is sound, then no, it does not. But that's ridiculous. It's preposterous, and we all agree that it is preposterous. So why do they put the argument to limit the Second Amendment? That's my argument. All right. So, and again, and I mentioned this earlier, and I talked about it earlier. Whenever I was telling you that, whenever I watched this video, okay, that, the audio does not do it justice, for the simple fact is whenever the camera was panning over the people, the congressmen and women that were there, it made me want to just smack the shit out of them with a 1977 or 1976 copy of a dictionary and then shove the Constitution right down their mouth. That's what it made me want to do. Okay, look, I have it, and here's an aspect of this. They are violating, of course, their oaths of office. They're going against that, and they should be impeached. Okay, look, I have in my hand, I'm holding it right now, what's called a pocket constitution. In this pocket constitution, it's small, it's pocket sized. Okay, it's the same size as my wallet that fits in my back pocket. This pocket constitution contains not only the Constitution, it contains the Bill of Rights, all 27 of them. Yeah, 27 of them, and it also contains within it the Declaration of Independence. It's 38 pages. 38 pages. This was written. It wasn't written with huge words. Why use 200 words when 10 will do the job? Okay? It was not written to confuse. It was not written in such a way that the devil is in the details. It was written in plain, simple English in such a way that anybody can read it and understand it. It didn't hide any details. They did not tell you that if you want to know what's in it, then you have to vote for it. They did not tell you that. They wanted it to be open and very well understood. This is what your freedoms are. This is how your rights have been violated, and this is why we are declaring our independence from Great Britain. This is what the Constitution says. This is the limitations on the government, and these are what your rights are. Oh, yeah. It wasn't some huge document. They didn't tell you that if you like your gun, you can keep your gun. No, they didn't tell you that. They didn't tell you that in order to pass this, or in order to see what's in the Constitution, you have to pass it. They didn't tell them that because they wanted everybody to completely understand what it was they were voting on, what freedoms they would have in this new government. They wanted everybody to know. 38 pages. The most important document of this nation. Truth be told. Absolutely. So I'm going to take a quick break. And when I get back, I am wanting to talk about something else. Something about one of the other episodes that I did on I believe the 9th. Let me actually kind of look at that right quick. No, I'm sorry. October 7th is when this came out. And the episode that I'm talking about was Music Maker Jam. And so when I get back after this quick break, I'm going to go ahead and discuss that one right quick. So couple minutes, I'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Welcome back to the Ho Ho Show, and I am broadcasting from the attic. And as always, I'm your host, Ho Ho. Alright guys, alright, so as I was saying before the quick commercial break, not commercial break, but music break, yada yada blah blah, Music Maker Jam that was published on October 7th, I was talking about copyright disputes, or copyright claims actually, on my videos the shows that I had put onto YouTube, okay? And I had like 9 of them, I believe, at the time that I had actually disputed, and I had actually gotten an email from YouTube telling me that 3 of those claims I won, and they took away the They took away the claim on my material, on my show. So I'm very excited about that. So I've got another 1, 2, 3 that I have done since that show. I think. Actually, I'm not even seeing the one on here Okay, there it is. Okay, yeah, so since that show, Music Maker Jam, I have 1, 2, 3 more copyright disputes that I have done. So, this almost seems as though this is something that's going to completely go on, Now, just to kind of, let you guys know, whenever I seen this, I had been, whenever I first seen this, I had been, fighting around with the internet, trying to get this thing, trying to get the live stream to be able to work better, and trying to figure out how I was going to do a live video stream and, do the multicasting. And so, I was already frustrated. I was tired. It was at the end of the day. I was about ready to go to bed. And then I seen this. And, I acknowledge and I admit that I did go off the deep end with it. I was ticked. And then the next morning, after, getting a little bit more of a clear head, I went ahead and I disputed 2 more. So, it really didn't change the fact that I was going to dispute it, because I still, my sentiment on the matter didn't change, but my agitation, irritation did change. I wasn't as irritated anymore, obviously. I had a chance to cool down and went to sleep. It was great. Sleep is good. As I have heard it says, sleep is God, go worship. And, not that, don't take that wrong. But anyway, I was ticked, I was upset, and I went full on right into it, And, it was one of them things too. I also noticed that, my previous episodes, and starting back with Attack of the Loose Deuce on back to my, very first episode that I put on YouTube, I, very much had licensed music in there, but that wasn't the case whenever I used the app Music Maker Jam, and it was one of them things that I was thinking that, possibly the actual, CD or production studio that put together the tracks, and, well, actually not really put together the tracks, but of where the tracks were made at, maybe that is where these, copyright claims are coming from. But, even still, according to the language from the app that I was using, Music Maker Jam, that is available in iTunes and on Android, I was violating no copyright agreement, and it was within, the preview or purview of, I guess, in a matter of speaking, what the app was intended to do, to be used in certain venues like this of what I'm using it in, I'm not making full-fledged CD albums. I'm not, trying to sell them. I am merely using it as a music break on basically a news or on a talk show. That's all I'm using it for. And that is perfectly within the requirements of using the app. I know I'm not wording that quite right, but I really hope you guys understand what I'm saying, okay? It wasn't a copyright violation. There is no copyright on it. It is not a copyright violation. I'm using it in the manner of which it was intended to be used, period. So because of that, of seeing a copyright claim on it, I was ticked, because, and I've already started doing this, of doing monetizing the shows, which, I'm sure that you guys have already noticed if you're listening to the app through Spreaker.com, that the that the episodes have a commercial now playing in front of them. So that's very awesome. That is free market capitalism, baby. So I'm excited about that. I've made a ton of money already through the monetizing of just through Spreaker.com. 4 cents. Yeah, that's right. 4 little bitty pennies. That's all I've made. It's great. I can't even claim that because you got to have, at any rate, it doesn't matter, But yeah, so no, this isn't something that I've even intended on, trying to get rich through. Not at all. The option was there. I'll click it. Why not? 4 pennies later. I thought it was great, but actually what I would like to see, and I know that it's going to take time, like maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3, who even knows of how long I'd have to, really stick with this in order to see really any type of, and I'm not talking a monetary gain from it. What I'd actually like to see, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, I would love to see through the monetizing of the show itself, to actually see the show pay for itself. That would be absolutely amazing. Because through Spreaker.com, I'm paying for the service there. I'm paying for the website. I'm paying for the hosting, So, there is a, I'm dishing out money for it, and that's not even counting, any of the equipment that I've paid for, So, and there's, I went full on stupid and just started buying all kinds of crap. It was great. So, but that's not even counting just that. Just to, just the actual subscription fees. It would be awesome for the, for the episodes to actually be able to pay for themselves. That would be kick ass. And of course, it's going to be something that's going to take time. Holy crap. There's people out there that have been doing this for, years. That, basically they say that they don't make a whole heck of a lot, but there's also people out there that have been doing this. It's their full on business, and they have other people involved in this and other people that they, have on the payroll. And they're doing it. And that's pretty awesome. There ain't no way this show's ever going to get to that level, but the sky's the limit. It's a medium that they're still, really reaping the benefits from and seeing how many people actually listen to it and utilize it and share it and whatnot. Come on, it's a whole new world, guys. People don't get their news, the people don't get their information the same way that they did. That I don't get my information the same way that my parents got their information. They got their information through newspapers, through, news stations, mainstream media. That's where they got their information. Today, you get your information through podcasts. You get your information through social media. You don't get it from the heavy hitters anymore because we know that the heavy hitters out there, we know that they all have an agenda. We know that they do nothing more than tote the, the liberal left party line. We know this. We know that they lie to us left and right any chance they get. Whether or not they get caught, it doesn't matter. They can get caught in a lie tomorrow, and then they'll spew out the same lie, or, they'll get caught in a lie yesterday, and they'll spew the same lie again tomorrow without consequences because they're the mainstream media and they can do it because they choose what is news and what is not news. There's so many things out there that happened. Well, okay. I ain't going to get into that. But there's a lot of things out there that has happened, within the past 2 weeks that most people aren't even aware of. because it got skipped over in the news cycle because of what was news. Not that these things weren't news and not that they weren't important. It's just that they weren't the big news. Okay. Now, I know I'm not saying that there was false flags. I'm not claiming any of that. None of that conspiracy theory crap. I'm not saying that right now. Just what I'm saying is there's information that was found out. There are things that happened that wasn't reported on because the mainstream media decided that what they wanted to focus on was something different. But that type of thing happens all the time. It really does. But we don't notice it. Why? Because there's still so many people out there. They get all of their information from but mainstream media. It's just the way that it is. But it's not the way that it is anymore. So many people, the younger generation, my generation, is learning that they're full of crap. And especially whenever you have political movements, like the movements of the right, not the bowel movements, but the other ones, conservative views and libertarian views out there. We don't get our news from mainstream media. And there's a lot of us out there. Being a conservative, I'm going to lay it out for you guys. Being a conservative is nothing more than wanting to conserve this document right here. The Constitution of the United States of America, the Bill of Rights, and understanding how the Declaration of Independence applied not only then, but now. That's what we are wanting to conserve. The Constitution. And the Constitution, as it was written, is universal. It applies to all Americans. It doesn't matter your race, your color, your creed. It applies to you. That's why it was written the way that it was. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but that is exactly why it was written the way it was. And I know I mentioned this before on one of my previous episodes, but I'm going to go ahead and read it again just because it bears to, it bears to be repeated. Okay? The Constitution of the United States, the opening paragraph of it, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our... That's not it. So the other one, Declaration of Independence. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating. Now, this is the second paragraph, the opener of the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm going to stop right there because that's all that matters. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, as it was originally written, okay, now I'm only saying this for the, for the free... the Black Lives people, the Black Lives Matter people. I'm saying this for the ones whom are anti-slavery. And of course, I am anti-slavery. Okay? Absolutely, I'm anti-slavery. But that was worded. Okay, no. Stop, rewind, play. It was originally worded life, liberty, and property. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Well, it was. You see, our founding fathers did not want slavery. But they also understood that there would be no way in hell that they would get this thing passed if they worked to eliminate slavery right then and there. We had more important issues like the freedom of a nation. Not that... that slavery wasn't important, but, it was kind of one of them things that, how do you guys, that answer me this question, how do you eat an elephant? I'll tell you, one bite at a time. And that was the bite that they knew they would be able to swallow. They knew that was the first step in eliminating slavery. They knew that was a step that they needed to take to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, and that was a free people, no matter race, color, or creed. That's what they wanted to do. Okay? So it was originally written life, liberty, and property, but they changed it to pursuit of happiness so that this way the argument could not be raised when it was time to raise the argument that are black people people or are they property. They did not want the slave owners to have a single leg to stand on, especially whenever it starts off with we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. And again, I know that I've covered that in a previous episode, so I'm not going to, I'm not going to drag the horse around the square. I'm just not going to do that. It's already been done. I'm not going to do it. But I know it's been covered. All right. So, tangents, among other tangents. But point is, going back a little bit and back a little bit. So, this thing that I'm doing is awesome. I love it. Monetizing is great. It's not getting me anything, but it's cool that I can do it. Doing all this is fun. So, and that was to get me back to here. I looked yesterday on the, like how many listens that the shows have. And I have, broke 400, and that is absolutely amazing in a short amount of time. 40 days, 42 days, I think is how long it took to break 400. So that's awesome. And to my listeners out there, thank you. It is very awesome. I am, and I'm also seeing, through the statistics and whatnot of where the episodes are getting played at. And there's, people down in, St. Louis and, Athens and Hillsborough and, India. That's just cool. So it's definitely getting out there. People are, they're listening to it, and that is so awesome. I have you guys to thank, and, just if you like what you hear, share it. It's amazing. I'm loving it. It's very, very cool. I'll keep growing the content and just having fun with it. So yeah, that's all I got for this one. It definitely went long. I didn't mean on going on some of the rants that I went on, but hey, it's a good time. So thank you guys for listening. Enjoy. And I am hoping actually that tomorrow, I'm going to shop around for some, Cat 5 cable and seeing if I'll actually be able to, order that here in town. I don't know if 100 feet is going to be enough or if I'm going to need 150 feet. I don't know. I do have some, and I got some people I'm going to be talking to on that. But, in the meantime, definitely before Saturday, I should be able to get the cable run that I need. So as long as I don't have any more hiccups, Saturday edition of the Ho Ho Show will be multicast on Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube. So, I'm definitely excited about that. So check it out. Like it. Watch it. Very cool. I have not decided, I actually don't even have anything planned for that show yet. I've got, stuff that I've done through the, through the wire and looking at, this app that I use for, my news feed and whatnot. So, yeah, good times, but, yeah, so cool. Y'all have a great one. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.